Hello, zombie-loving freaks in the sheets! Welcome back to another Actor Reacts to HBO's The Last of Us. Episode 3 is titled Long, Long Time, the beautiful story of how love transcends all. Global infections and politics. Turns out love is love. And happy Valentine's Day. If you have a partner or don't, it's all good because I'll be your Valentine. Now, don't forget to hit the bell below and subscribe! Okay, well, let us jump right into this complete tear fest. We open on Joel building a rock tower. Oh my God, let the tears begin. Okay, rock towers, or cairns, I think it's pronounced, have been used for decades, probably even centuries. They were originally used to mark trails and specific sites. Eventually, people began to use them to mark burial sites and honor the dead. Now get this, naturalists and conservationists are working to outright ban this activity in Aruba. Tourists have just been using them to cover areas, and it disrupts the natural landscape and habitats for creatures like crabs, insects, and geckos. Now, in a post-apocalyptic world, people are probably more worried about the infected or where their next meal is coming from than Joel making a burial mound for Tess. Oh, the tears. Now, okay, also they're outside of Boston, about 10 miles, not in Aruba. If I find any while I'm there in a couple months, I'll let you know. But that doesn't matter, because when Joel gets back to the camp, we have this great little moment just before Joel tosses the food to Ellie. He makes you think he's putting it away before tossing it. Remember when I spoke about grounding certain actions with a glance? Well, this is similar. Joel didn't immediately consider sharing his rations, even though it's written into the script. So he began to put them away after taking a bite. In that moment, we can see him decide to give Ellie the ration. This is great because it works as a bit of misdirection, leading you to one outcome before changing it. Also, it works to build his character as a protector, nurturer, and provider. That's a little out of practice. It's kind of good. Honestly, it's a great example of an actor doing something or being, right? Many people consider the profession of acting as doing, not pretending. People are too smart for an actor that pretends to do things. Audiences see right through them. In this scene, we also have great examples of dovetailing and actors finding the earliest moment to speak. Now, these tools are great at making scenes seem more like real conversations, not just scripted moments where actors are waiting around to say their next line. Now, think about the conversations you have with friends, family, or even people you just met. Rarely do you wait for a person to complete a thought to speak. We understand where the person is going and can get ahead of them during the conversation. Dovetailing, or speaking over the last bit of their sentence. Or we might have an urge to respond to a certain point they're making. Now, this is finding the earliest moment to speak, the impulse to respond in that moment. Now, as an actor, you work on holding on to those impulses or the energy that can drive your next line. Sometimes that impulse fades or changes as your co-star continues talking. But that's fine, right? Follow the impulses wherever they go. The audience will see you have the impulse, and they'll be with you on that journey. Trust them. Later, Joel mentions the pancake mix while talking about how the world fell. Now, this lets us in on just how much Joel thinks about his daughter. It's a great piece of writing, and it's delivered really well. It's subtle, and a line that many may try to emphasize or punch so the audience understands the weight or circumstances. But Pedro Pascal almost throws it away. By making the line more subtle and taking the briefest of, why did I write bears? Beats before saying it, we can feel the weight and the pain behind it. This is a little note for when Ellie finds the mass grave. God, it's sad. It's an interesting moment because as an actor, we should give ourselves somewhere to go, right? In any scene or in any play, production, film, and I'm speaking emotionally, of course, right? Because when we know where we end in a scene or a play or a film, we know where we can begin. Try starting in the opposite emotional range. This allows the audience to see the journey, come with you, and here we see Ellie starting in a very playful area, joking about how Joel should have told her it was an axe murderer, and ending very seriously. Now, this is a fairly sudden shift, and as an audience, we are essentially robbed of the moment. We cut to a deeper length, Ellie's more in the back, and we see exactly what she sees. very good reason for seeing that, obviously. And then we cut closer to have Joel explain the reasons. When we do that, we see Ellie is very uncomfortable with what's going on.
I killed him.
It's shown in the way she kind of moves her lips around. It's a great little piece of TV film acting of keeping things a little bit smaller for camera. So, truth be told, The Mass Graves, it's extremely dark, but using it to introduce Nick Offerman's character, Bill, the right-wing doomsday prepper, or as he calls it,
survivalist.
All right, buddy. That was good, all right? That was pretty brilliant. And it grounds the information we heard from Joel as truth, shedding light on Fedra, and proving to audiences that Joel is knowledgeable about what happened. It also makes him a very reliable narrator. But I wonder if he's a little too knowledgeable. Is he suspicious? Should I be suspicious? I'm a little suspicious. Now, there isn't much to say about Bill's introduction. He's relaxed while going about his business, setting up his traps, making his own personal village. It's like a beginner exercise from Meisner training, taken to an extreme. An actor steps on stage and simply exists while being watched. Then an activity is added. And when a teacher thinks that you have that down, they add a circumstance or a previous moment, something to inform the emotional state. Now, he is natural and he does a great job of making you aware of his surroundings while he's outside the fence. This also provides a great contrast for when Frank arrived, which brings a very drastic change to his lifestyle. So there is an amazing amount of physical and movement work at play here in Nick Offerman. Bill is visibly tense throughout much of their starting exchanges, most especially when Frank's in the room. I mean, he's on guard. To show this to audiences, he has his shoulders raised and kind of got his chest caved in, right? Doing that, he's guarding his heart. He's letting you know that he's not letting anybody in. Now, I just want to touch on this little moment here, right, when Frank is left alone in the dining room. So, as an actor, whenever you're alone on stage, it has been suggested to me to do an activity. It's more interesting to watch than somebody just sitting there, not doing anything, not thinking about anything. You know, find something that makes sense with the scene or the set, the previous circumstances to think about. Frank is doing this here, and he's exploring Bill's dining room. It's a new environment for him, and he can learn a lot about his new host, so great job. And if you're alone on set, try thinking about a mystery, solving a math equation. It'll just give your face something to do without having to really try. It is also suggested to not waste one's entrances, meaning find a way to shift your action or want upon entering a room. It makes the entrance more fluid and believable. It creates this little something, you know? It reminds the audience that this character has a life off stage. In this case, it reminds us of the previous scenes of Bill cooking, the meticulous nature in which he handles his food. It's his own little moments of solitude, bliss, and meditation. And that is immediately interrupted when he enters the room, finding Frank in a different location. He catches him in the act of exploring. And to a person that hasn't interacted with anyone for as long as he has, to now let someone in, he's wary, he's on guard. And that's when Bill shifts, he tightens up. And he goes from those moments of bliss to finding a stranger in his home. It's a little touch, and it's really nice to see that attention to detail. Again, I don't know much about the games, so the relationship between these two wasn't something I was privy to before this episode. But all throughout this dinner, I kept thinking, God, these two are flirting, right? Is it just me? It's the subtle brushing of one's hair out of the face, the watching each other sip and eat, Bill bumping his gun into the chair, very uncharacteristic of someone who has a gun-toting lifestyle. It's just unrealistic. And it's really cute, right? He's flustered. Also, I like that Frank is pushing. He obviously sensed something, given the lines,
No, you do.
and
I know.
just before they kiss. He needs to take the lead in their relationship. As capable as Bill is, I don't figure he has much experience with romantic relationships. He's probably denied himself the pleasure due to certain political beliefs. And that is just another thing that makes him tense. You know, but as we continue this episode, we see the blossoming of a beautiful and fulfilling relationship. Truly, relationship goals here on this Valentine's Day. I love Bill's giddy energy after the kiss, too. You can just hear it in his voice, and the little look back when he gets to the stairs before going up. God, it's so freaking cute! Now, I just want to take a quick pause, right? The acting, fantastic, phenomenal, okay, but I do want to mention that sex scenes are never comfortable as an actor. Not only does literally everybody come out of the woodwork, I mean, you've got lighting guys you've never seen since you filmed in Prague, showing up to give you notes. You have a director, and if you're really lucky, you get an intimacy coordinator guiding you through these intimate moments that never really seem to be the same as when you're alone or with a partner. Fair, you have to work with certain angles for camera, different things, you know, then you got to do it multiple times. It's really a lot less sexy than one imagines, all right? You are there to work, you are there to be professional, but it might not hurt to crack a joke. Michael Caine suggests joking through it. A laugh might help lighten the mood, because chances are if you're uncomfortable, so is your co-star. That said, stay professional. Never deviate from the set choreography, ever. After our first time jump, we see Frank hiding his wanton action until later in the scene. Now this happens a lot as an actor. You're given dialogue that, you know, you're kind of dancing around your want, but you really need to nail it down, right? For the whole scene, not just individual lines. This will keep you on track, not flip-flopping from position to position. Murray Bartlett does a great job of hiding his wanton action, which is to get Bill to agree to allow guests. In his dialogue, he keeps it about fixing the home. Most likely the thinking is, if I can get him to agree to this, I can convince him to agree to that. He's also doing something really cool, a tool called running from the conflict. Now, seeing two characters argue, screaming, yelling at each other is not moving, right? It's kind of boring. You know exactly where they're going from the jump. So, as an actor, you should attempt to stay calm. It allows you places to go emotionally. It also gives you more tactics to achieve your desires. And you may find that you'll become actually furious in the moment instead of trying to artificially manifest that fury. And now we come into the end game, the truly heartbreaking stuff. First off, Frank's paintings are really incredible, right? I mean, I used to paint, but I was never this good. I never learned anything about art history, but if I did, I don't remember it. But this painting is amazing. 10 out of 10, okay? Now, when Bill is sitting on the couch here, we can see some of his stiffness return. It's a small physical characteristic that has been woven in by Nick Offerman. We see it when Frank arrives, when Joel and Tess arrive, and now when Frank has made a decision. It's great to see another actor use this physical tick to ground a character in this way. It makes it so clear for the audience where he is emotionally. Nick also does this great thing of giving us his eyes, right? Instead of looking down, he keeps them up towards camera. At most, he'll clench his eyelids shut, but even then, you can still see the emotional impact. He's letting you in on what's going on inside of him, the turmoil that this has caused, so it's not lost on us. As an actor, you always want to give your audience the eyes. Don't hide those windows to the soul. Murray Bartlett is again doing something incredible. He's breaking the mood. You know, it's an example here of how it can be used to really punch us in the gut by asking for toast, for a wedding, for a dinner. All of these have the effect of keeping the day happy, light, and maybe a little mundane. You know, he doesn't allow us to get bogged down in the emotional, heavy circumstances. The decision to have an assisted suicide. It makes the sequence more beautiful and moving. We, as an audience, can enjoy their final day together. And when it's time for Frank and Bill, we aren't emotionally tired from watching. We can allow ourselves to feel. Hey, thanks for sticking around. Look, I tried something a little different today. Tried to keep it a little shorter. I don't know, maybe the algorithm will put us higher up in the rankings. I'm still figuring all this out. So thanks for joining me, and happy Valentine's Day, guys.